This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to Be Nation, welcome back to PTBN's NBA Team Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Andrew Riche. I am joined by Adam Murray. Adam, sometimes the basketball podcast recording schedule gods. They sometimes work in our favor. This is one of those ones where we had a couple weeks and we were like, well, you know, it's kind of just flowing along. The trade deadline's coming up this Thursday. You know, we'll just kind of see what happens. And then the night before, we had our already scheduled recording on a Sunday, trade of the century.
Trade of the century. I think this is trade of all trades. I don't. You try to think back.
Whoa, Adam Murray. So you're going further than trade of the century? Is that what
you
doing
think of a shocking trade like?
Okay, so I mean, we're gonna chronologically go through all the things. I'll say this. The Kevin Durant one to the Suns in the middle of the night was pretty stunning 2 years ago. That one was up there.
He asked to go out. He wanted to leave.
He did. I think the destination is what was so surprising in that one.
That is what you were surprised about. There was already rumbles of him. You know, he wanted out, so it was public knowledge. The same thing with, like, you could see, you know, Kyrie to Boston was kind of, you know, two rivals trading. Harden was a bit, but like I think you have to go back to like Wilton '68 to the Lakers to be like, where did this come from? Because nobody had a clue. Nobody has answers. You had all the emergency pods going up at 2 a.m. on a Sunday morning.
I feel bad for those poor souls because, I mean, you know, the thing too about the NBA, and for all of us NBA sickos, you and I included, we're used to this because remember, until they changed it up a couple of years ago with the new collective bargaining agreement, the free agency started at midnight. So us sickos are used to this. Oh man, crazy shit's happening at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. All the big deals are getting made, and you have to stay up late with like bleeding red eyes, gazing at all the deals. And it happens. Like sometimes these trades they get made or announced. I mean, we'll speculate on how long we think it took to get put together. We haven't even mentioned the names, but there's only really two names that are important.
We don't need to pretend like this is.
We don't need to pretend, but we have to
just go.
We could be proper. Luka Doncic is a Laker, and Anthony Davis is a freaking Dallas Maverick. They're both.
I don't think it's one of those are two players where everybody, even just the casual fan, oh, you know Luka, who? Oh, the white guy. Oh, him. Like they traded him. What? Are you serious?
A 25-year-old NBA All-Star. Yes.
So let's just. What logic do you have for this?
First of all, I do want to get out of the way the small parts involving the trade, if that's okay. Do you want to? Can I go with that first, and then we'll get to the big stuff? Maxi Kleber and Markieff Morris going to LA makes sense because Luka is tight with Maxi. And it was an $11 million salary. Markieff Morris has been a Laker before. LeBron probably signed off on that. The one that's interesting is that Dallas got LA's 2029 draft pick, which tells me that's why Dallas or Utah wound up being the third wheel in it, so that they could help facilitate the second round pick part. Utah wound up getting 2 second-round picks and Jalen Hood-Schifino, who I believe was a first-round pick. Max Christie also went to Dallas. And here's the funny part. And we said this in the summer when they re-signed Max Christie to a extension for $7 million a year. Everyone was like, why did they do that? This is why. Because when the contracts for people like Anthony Davis, Luka Doncic, LeBron James, Anthony Edwards, Nikola Jokic, when they're that huge, you have to have an extra salary of somewhere between $7 to $15 million just to balance out the differential to make a trade like this happen.
That is why Maxi Kleber is Lucas. No, it had to be. They were already shopping him, and his salary fits that window.
He's had a
Marquise
lot of
Morris is just a
history.
veteran minimum that doesn't matter. They don't have Dallas does not have extra pieces to add to it. So that was basically
because they gave up a lot of they gave up a lot of draft picks to get Kyrie Irving 2 years ago. That was one of the reasons.
And they to get him, and then they had to fit in Klay Thompson. They had to ship out Green to Charlotte. And the question is, like, out of all of this, before I get your opinion on winners and losers and whatnot. Yeah. Mikal Bridges got 5 firsts.
Yeah.
One first, and it's just like, did you get Dalton Connect? No. Did you get 5 first pick swaps? No. What'd you get? Anthony Davis and Max Christie? What? Huh? Like, and you didn't shop them around? Like, well, nobody has an answer.
I'm glad you brought up the last part when you said shopping around. So this is only the morning after, but a lot of intel has kind of leaked out from people like Chris Haynes, Brian Windhorst, Shams Charania was the one who broke it first. But if you kind of read through the lines, you could figure out that it was Dallas that went to LA first and said, "Hey, we are willing to offer Luka Doncic, but it depends on what you're willing to give us back." And my theory is that this did not take long to put together, and that's why it didn't leak like other trades. Big mega trades sometimes leak out, like when Shaq got traded to the Heat when he was a Laker. That got out a long time ago because he had asked for a trade, and they were negotiating the pieces for days. This one, I think, Adam, did not involve multiple picks and all these other ancillary pieces, because in terms of salary swap, it was pretty clean. Anthony Davis has 3 years left, including a player option at $55 million, and it maxes out at 63. And then for Luka, he has only 2 years left with a player option, and it was at 46, and the player option is at 49. The difference is only about 6 to 10 million. It's not that hard to do. So they said, okay, we will take your superstar, meaning LA, best defensive player in the league, arguably, has been to the NBA Finals, league leader in scoring at one point, league leading rebounder at one point, and we at 30 years old, and we will take Luka Doncic, who's 25 years old and has just played in the NBA Finals and is probably the second most efficient offensive player in the league, not other than Nikola Jokic. So in terms of scale and importance and relevance, I agree with you, Adam. This is the biggest trade in NBA history. Now, why did Dallas do it? That's the question I'm trying to ask myself. Is there something there involving the rumored stuff about the conditioning, the calf strain? Excuse me, maybe like some issues involving disagreements with Nico Harrison, the GM. There had to be something internal in Dallas that kickstarted them even going to LA to propose the trade.
The only logical reason, the conditioning is just a spin thing. Oh, we don't want to pay.
We don't want to supermax this guy into his 30s. Yeah.
We don't want to supermax him when he's already, we could see by the time that, year 3 of that supermax, he's going to be in bad condition.
And I don't mean to cut you off, but I think this is important to mention. Luka will have a lot of bitterness with Dallas because of the fact that due to this trade and the fact he's not with his original team anymore, he cannot get the veteran supermax like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to get and like Nikola Jokic has.
Yeah, and it'll be fun to see angry Luka because just like...
Long story short, I don't think this was Luka's choice. I don't.
No, to answer your question originally, the only logic I can have is Luka says he did, he never asked for a trade. I believe that. I think it might be, I'm going to opt out of my deal and I don't want to sign here.
That would have been 2026.
So that's we need to get stuff for him now because he wants to go to LA or Miami later on. He doesn't, and we're going to lose him for nothing or have some big thing. Or that's really the only thing that could come out. As far as what was Dallas thinking, I understand it from a roster standpoint of we now have Anthony Davis. The pick and roll will be the best in the league by far.
They have the best front court in the league now, period. They could actually – Lively has a foot injury. Adam, Derek Lively could be out for the season, and they'll still have the best front court because they have Davis, Gafford, and Washington. Yeah.
So AD, who wanted to play the 4, now can play the 4. You have Clay just sitting there roaming around. So it makes
Kyrie Irving having a great year. I thought he should have been an all-star reserve.
It was like we had said about the Clippers and Golden State as they became a more complete team with this trade because Luka just, most usage player in the league by far and the heaviest. I mean, and you had, size issues and what do you're putting Luka, Kyrie, and Clay out there. It's like that doesn't really work because they all need the ball. But so from a roster standpoint, yes, I understand it. From this is what you got for it. Like they must have said internally, who is the best player that would trade for Luka? Would Milwaukee trade Giannis for him? No, of course not. Would Boston trade Tatum for him? Of course not. No. And they went down the list of the top 10 players. Like, what is the best we can get for him? Because if they said we're trading Luka for, because it would be like, well, what, San Antonio would open up their war chest and say, you could take any player you want in 5 firsts. Okay, we'll take Castle, Keldon Johnson, and just have a shot.
Wembanyama would have been off the table.
Anybody but him, obviously. I meant
right.
Take your pick besides Wemby, and how many picks do you want? Why wouldn't they? So to just say, oh, we want Davis, whose a history of injuries is no secret, and Kyrie's injuries is no secret. But
to be fair to AD, this is the best. This is one of the best years in terms of playing games and not sitting games that he's had all year. I do find it curious that he left after 10 minutes in the Hornet game, or the Sixer game, I think it was, maybe. Is saying, I have some issue with my ankle. We know this, Adam. I got a feeling AD got some sort of heads up.
Who knows?
Especially given Rich Paul was his agent.
The problem is it just leads to stuff like this. Just leads to conspiracy theories and then buying into the conspiracy theories.
Very many.
As you see with just the American political landscape now, everything you have to buy into a conspiracy theory for anything. So the only thing is nobody understands why Dallas did this or the timing for doing it or what something more had to be in there. Because then you just say, oh, well, yeah, the Lakers, they rigged the system or the NBA had to do it. No, this makes the Lakers like this year. The Lakers are
they
worse
have
now.
It continues the legacy. It continues the legacy of the Los Angeles Lakers, just like how they acquired Wilt Chamberlain. Then they acquired Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Then they acquired Shaquille O'Neal. Then they acquired Pau Gasol. Then they acquired LeBron James and Anthony Davis. It continues the legacy. And some people's like, yeah, but they didn't really earn it. These were displaced superstars that they swindled from other franchises. I'm like, yeah, but it takes 2 to tango. The other team made the deal, or the player wanted to go to LA, which, like, as you were alluding to in your very good answer, it is possible. Maybe Luka just said, look, when I opt out in 2026, I'm going to go sign with the Lakers because that's what I want to do. But it continues the legacy of the Los Angeles Lakers have a Hall of Fame caliber player at the top of the food chain. LeBron, this also, I think, facilitates something that you and I had talked about all the way into last summer when he signed a 2-year deal at the $50 million range. LeBron James is retiring after the 2025-26 season. This is it.
And that's why I think this deal was made for next year. You guys
Keep
take the half season because they need a center, obviously. Having Dorian Finney-Smith,
You
and
have
that's
Hachimura, who's
but
played well.
he's a 4. So you have Christian Wood, who's not back. You got Christian Kokolo, who just got back from his heart condition.
Vanderbilt just came back.
Who's also I believe he's not a center. So you need size. So this move, so unless they make a big power move for like Ayton, or most likely they'll get like Robert Williams or Jacob Pirtle.
Yeah,
but
they could make another addition.
So now let's just go over your grades, your trade grades for this.
What? So, you go ahead.
I was going to say that the most important piece is everybody wants to know what do you give Utah for this? The big Utah Jazz, the big
Utah Jazz got Jalen Hood-Schifino. And they got 2 seconds that they could just use to throw into another 3-way where they take on a contract. Danny Ainge is crazy. He's crazy. I don't know what to tell you, man. He also knows everybody. So the moment this deal got done, which I'm gonna be honest, I do believe the reports this was put together within about 2 days. I do believe that. I don't think this went on for weeks. I don't believe that. Maybe it was whispered about in the front office for weeks and weeks with the Lakers and the Mavericks about them having dissatisfaction with, for the Lakers with Davis and the Mavericks with Doncic. But in terms of the deal, actually, like a phone call being made and then the conversation being made and the negotiation, I do think this was a very, very, very short period of time, like less than a week. I'll say that.
That is a very long answer for not answering the
Well, no, you give me your grade. Give me your grade. Like, Utah got nothing out of it. Utah got
2 seconds, but they also got rid of. They have so many picks. They used 3 firsts last year, and what are they getting out of them? Oh, well, they get to look at Jalen Hood-Schifino for a year, where he's playing behind Keontae George and Isaiah Collier. Like,
he has team options anyway. They can cut him if they wanted to in the summer.
Yeah. So they don't, because the Lakers declined it last year.
Right. So yeah, exactly.
They were because they didn't. So I don't understand their point. Okay, you pick up 2 seconds, but you already flip 3 firsts because you have too many people on your roster and who aren't good. So Dallas, I think it's just funny because much like the Clippers trade a week ago, getting PJ, getting a second round pick to take on.
Yeah, that was a trade. We didn't talk about that, but that was a trade that happened about 2 days earlier, where Tucker, who had been on the outs with the Clippers organization before the training camp started, that he got shipped off, and Drew Eubanks wound up with the Clippers. I actually like that for the Clippers. Drew Eubanks is a good rebounder.
Yeah, it's a solid big man backup, that would say, but Utah is just stockpiling picks and not doing anything with them, so they don't seem like they're in the urgency to enter the buyer phase. LA, of course, we mentioned this is an A+ because it's simple. It continues their legacy from year on. You'll have angry Luka who might be motivated to get more in shape and whatnot. As far as this year,
oh yeah, I'm sorry.
As far as this year, like I said, it's a step back, because your team is now so undersized. So you're going to have to go through Jokic and then Chet Holmgren and possibly Wembayana and Naz Reid, Rudy Gobert. Like, you have a lot of big men in the West, and LA has currently none. So I don't know what pieces are going to move around. Okay. Dallas needs to win a title within 2 years, or this is a big fail. I had mentioned how I like it from a roster standpoint, as they're more even and well-rounded, which is what they need. However, if they don't win, this is just you got rid of nobody thought he would be traded. Probably, maybe 5 years down the road when he's like 33 and he's going for that last contract, maybe. But like you gave up on when he's 25, and so maybe this is we're going in this year, and this is how we can do it. Because Davis, if he's healthy for the playoffs, we just mentioned that team is very dangerous. But
Yes.
after that, like, you have no draft capital. You flipped most of that to assemble this team. I just don't know like, why didn't you shop him around and say, all right, GMs, this is the player I want. Okay, Miami, we want Adebayo. What would you have 24 hours to give us our best thing around him? Oh, we're not going to. Okay, thanks. Good. So unless it was just literally they didn't think they could get anybody for him, they don't want a Steven Castle and 5 picks or just assorted garbage or filler potential. Young guys on the we'll get Scotty Barnes and who's on the uprise and like
Mm-hmm.
if that was just this is the best I thought I can do. I don't think like when as the dust settles on this, people aren't questioning getting Davis because again, he's a NBA 75 talent. He is top defensive player. It's just that was all you got for him is the sticking point to everybody.
So the first thing I'll say is that to piggyback something you said when you were asking, well, why didn't they shop around? I think what happened is the GM for the Mavericks made calls. He just went to the Lakers early in the process. He may have even been the first team because they were dead set on getting Davis if they said yes. And Rob Pelinka and LeBron and Rich Paul said, yeah, we're willing to do that. And that kind of stopped the carousel before it even got spinning. And that's why
I don't think Clutch would be like, yeah, I want Anthony Davis to go to Dallas. I don't think
I don't know, man. We did see this one moment late in the nighttime where, first of all, LeBron said he found out while he was at dinner after they beat the Knicks in a game in New York. Okay. The other part was funny where a CBS sports guy did a breaking news bit about the trade, and he said he had heard murmurs that LeBron and AD were not fond of each other anymore, and LeBron called him an effing liar with a clown emoji. So clearly that hit a nerve, And I'm not saying that confirms that what the CBS Sports guy said. I just thought it was interesting that he responded so quickly to that. So I for the Lakers, let me just get to the Laker part. Salary wise, it didn't make that much of a difference for them. I totally understand the logic of it. You get a 25-year-old Hall of Fame caliber superstar for your 30-year-old Hall of Fame caliber superstar. I totally understand that. I would do it too.
There's no reason not to do it. You do it, and then you figure out how. What do we do? Because even when he's lazy and
he's
that's still the top 5.
Part. Right. That's the interesting part. Did they do this? If Luka was not in the know 100% about going to LA, does that mean that Luka is on board with an extension, even if it means that he is not? There's no way he'll be able to get the veteran supermax because he's no longer a Maverick. If that means he's going to get the same amount of money no matter where he signs in 2026, then I would have to assume, Adam, he's probably just going to sign the supermax extension with LA in the summer. That's the
same thing as we've always heard. I believe we've mentioned it in previous episodes. Like he was like, yeah, I'd go to Miami because I like the weather, and I go to LA because they're the Lakers, and everybody grew up watching the Lakers. So for
the Lakers, I'm gonna leave it. So the Lakers, I'm gonna leave it at this: if they get him to sign the extension for 4 more years or whatever in the summer, it's a win. The Lakers won the deal. In the long term, for Dallas, for this year, they won the deal. This year, this season, this half of the season, they won the deal. They are going to be a threat. They can beat the Thunder. They can beat the Rockets. They can beat the Grizzlies. Anthony Davis as a player, he neutralizes a lot of things that you have problems with against other teams just by his presence, and they have so much size, so much versatility behind them. Remember, they also have Najee Marshall, and they have some other long arm guys like Omax Prosper and people like that. Like, they're going to be able to be a real disruptive team defensively. If they get Lively back, that makes them even better. I worry about Klay Thompson. Can his legs last in a playoff run, a deep playoff run? That's my biggest concern on that one. But in the short term, for this half season, Dallas is going to be a better team. I agree. The Lakers are going to be, and let me pronounce this, awful. They're going to be an awful defensive team for the rest of the season. So that, I think, caps out their playoff run at like second round at best for the Lakers. For the Mavericks, they could get to the finals again.
And then two quick points. First one, like with Toronto, they got the trophy. Nobody remembers now that they're god awful and have nobody.
You're talking about the Kawhi deal, yeah.
In the end, if you win, nobody remembers what happened. It was just we got, and then Anthony Davis got us the title.
Banner's hanging forever.
Exactly. Number 2, I would put losers in this category. Oklahoma City.
Because they can't get better.
Because Oklahoma City is content with their roster, and now you have to go through Anthony Davis with Kyrie like that.
Okay, now can I get into my fantasy book mode? I know this is dangerous, especially when we get this close to the deadline, because everybody has halcyon dreams about what player is going to go to what team. But can I tickle your fancy a little bit with this one? Is it possible, and we saw this with the Pau Gasol trade in 2008, is it possible that the magnitude of this trade and the seismic shifts involved with it get the GMs a little jumpy and the owners get a little hectic, and we start seeing some major deals? Like say Oklahoma City says, fuck it, let's just get Jimmy Butler. And the Rockets just say, you know what? Let's trade Jalen Green for De'Aaron Fox. Like, do you think things like that could possibly happen because of this deal?
Yes and no. Yes, I think teams who are already set on, like Houston, like we're just going to ride it and see how it goes, and Oklahoma. I could see desperate teams like Denver and Golden State being like, now we need to make a move more so than ever. Because I think many owners and GMs thought, well, you can't trade somebody like Luka. So now it's one of those like, well, anything's possible. If
okay,
you
Kevin.
can see you can see somebody going, we need Zach Levine. We need his shooting and spacing.
I think this will also, I mean, Kevin Durant was interviewed because they actually were playing a game. They actually lost to the freaking Blazers, which is okay. But there was literally clips of the Blazers and the Suns looking at their phones. First of all, I thought phones were banned at courtside, but okay. But you could literally see them looking at it like, are you fucking kidding me? And they interviewed Durant. Durant was in shock. I wonder if they're going to try to really hurry up the decision making of Bradley Beal. Because let's be real, Adam. Bradley Beal's no trade clause has been what's been holding up Jimmy Butler going to the Suns, which was his preferred choice. I wonder if this is going to hurry it up, and there's going to be some pressure mounting because of the big deal involving Luka going here. 2 West teams swapping West players, and they just say, look, we got to get something done. Is it a yes or a no? And they do it before the deadline. And I just wonder if all I'm trying to say, Adam, I just wonder if some deals are just going to get hurried up. And then there's just some big deal that just comes out of thin air because a team overreacted, an owner overreacted.
Or a GM just like gut punched your entire fan base.
I don't think this was a fantastical trade. It sounds like something in a rotisserie draft when you're just bored at night. But like, I can understand Nico Harrison a little bit, even though I had to kind of like be talked into it for an hour or two when I first read it on my phone. Which like, I do want to ask you that. This is one of those where were you then kind of things. Like when you read it, what did you think at first?
There's a missing piece that nobody knows, and we're all waiting for that info. Like, there's something there. You don't just trade the 3rd or 4th best player in the NBA
Yeah.
and get a marginal return, which you might love. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, Chicago, well, we love Giddy. That's it. That's all we wanted. We didn't want anything else. Okay, if you love it, that's fine. You can live
Let's
with it.
make
But
it work.
the fact that I think you have a bunch of front offices going, we could have beat that deal. We had a better package. We could have.
And I think that's part of the shock, where some GMs are like, I wasn't in on that, that kind of thing.
Like I said, we'll see. We'll be back next week to go over all the other.
Oh wait, we didn't talk about the rest of the league, Adam.
We don't need to.
There was a whole bunch of games, and there was some really awesome performances. Victor Wembanyama clowned Giannis in a game. Like
that, none of that matters. The entire league is incomplete.
DeJounte Murray tore his Achilles. I mean, now the Pelicans are going to have to do a fire sale.
We will all go over that next week. This is the only thing we need to be talking about. It's the only thing anyone's going to be talking about.
That's what I'm saying. This is one of those casuals where, like, it's not even a Twitter timeline. It was serendipitous for me. I was hanging out with two of my friends at someone else's house, and we watched the Royal Rumble. It had already ended. I'm just looking at my phone, and I see this, and I'm gonna tell you, Adam, I thought ESPN's app was hacked. I thought no chance, and then I did a double take, and I said, according to Shams, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, then I had that second to process that this is real. It's really happened. Showed it to my friend. Shock. About maybe 5 minutes of just genuine nonverbal shock. But then we started laughing at the whole thing about LeBron not knowing and finding out at dinner. The NBA just never gets boring, even when it feels boring when you're watching all these games because everybody has to play 82 games. Even during those stretches, the NBA can really throw you a curveball sometimes. And this is probably the biggest trade in this generation. I can think of other ones that are on the level, but in terms of the last 10 to 20 years, this might take the cake.
Agreed. So with that, for Andrew Riche, I'm Adam Murray. Have a good one.
Take care.